Hey, what's happening, Steelers Nation? I'm Tyler Feldman, the host of the Steelers Squad Show, coming to you live from Austin, Texas, repping the black and gold down here in the Lone Star State. And hey, I can't believe this. 4 weeks in, the Steelers 3-1, Kings of the North, the Ravens at the bottom, 1-3. Kind of love it. Kind of like that look from the standings perspective.
And I'm Ben Bobick, repping down here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Top of the North, feels good going into the bye, and I think it comes at a good time as we get hopefully our secondary rest up here during this bye week.
And I'm Wayne Gandy coming from Atlanta, Georgia. Slow down. We still got to win the division. I know it's a lot of people hurt, and all of you about to change your wagers and your bet, but slow down.
And I'm Chris Carter here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and the Locked On Steelers podcast. Look, there's a lot of excitement and for good reason. I'm back from Dublin, but we will get into a lot of different factors here. It's the Steelers Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network.
Wave those terrible towels. It's the Steelers Squad. Everything Pittsburgh Steelers every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Steel City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the steel curtain to the next generation, the Steelers Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. This is the Steelers Squad Show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, I'm your host, Tyler Feldman, and joining me on this Wednesday night, bye-week edition of the Steelers Squad Show, Ben Bobick, Wayne Gandy, and again, back from Dublin, Ireland. He made it back safe and sound, Christopher Carter. Chris, I guess we start with you. What was the craziest story you can share on the Locked On Podcast Network during your time across the pond?
I can't share the crazy.
Come on. Come on.
It'll get us in trouble. It'll get us. If you stick around,
get us in trouble,
boys.
Get us in trouble.
We're not doing that. I'll tell you what. I thought it was really cool seeing the amount of just pure NFL fans that were just there all week. It was my first trip to Europe, and my wife, who had been there, was like, "You're not getting real Europe because it's just like being in Pittsburgh because everybody there is, oh, I'm from Wilkinsburg, I'm from Squirrel Hill, I'm from Monroeville, I'm from the North Hills." And she's like, "It's not normally like this." And I'm like, "Europe is great. This is the best thing ever. I should just go all the time because it's just Pittsburgh everywhere." And she's like, "That's not what it's like." But it was really cool experiencing them, experiencing Vikings fans. Everyone was just so nice. And Patrick Queen said something really interesting after the game that I resonated with. He said, this was actually a different environment than Acrisure. He said, because these fans were locked in at every second. And he was right. Every second down, third down, there was loud cheering. They were locked in. There wasn't a moment where you felt like the crowd had been lulled to sleep by anything the Steelers had done or the Vikings had done. They were checked in. And I thought that was the coolest thing here, was that you could just see the passion in these fans all across the board. They were there to enjoy the Steelers. And for many people, when I talked to them, just from, I got there early in the week, stayed till a few days after the game. And so many fans, like, this was my first real Steelers experience. And so I thought that was the really cool part, was just seeing the pure joy from hardcore fans that were getting their first real taste of it in person. And it was a very awesome experience.
Chris, you weren't on the show Sunday for obvious reasons. You were out of town. Wayne was hoping to get his hands on a green terrible towel. Did you happen to find one or come across one? Because Wayne was about to drop into tears at the thought of not having one of those in his sports den down there in Atlanta.
So how about this? You can't get them anymore. They were sold out before the game. Like the NFL did not think that it was going to be that hot of a commodity. And so there were only so many amount. When a friend of mine went to go get some, like, before the game, they were like, "Sir, we're out. You can't find them in the pro shop. You couldn't find them anywhere in Ireland. The best you were going to see if you got a bootlegger that was selling, like, ones that said Steelers, that just had it spelled wrong, or the terrible towel, like it was Charles Barkley or something like that." But but like, it was sold out. So I'm sorry, Wayne, they're going for big money on eBay. Like, people bought them, realized they were sold out, and they're like, "Oh, I'm making money off of this." So even I didn't get them. I got some cool scarves to bring back for my family that were like handmade by some people in. There's a it was like it's a mile-long walk to Croke Park, which was really the coolest thing. I don't know if you guys saw the picture I posted, but like like it around the stadium, it's just like a no drive zone. So basically you got to walk up to the stadium and it's just streets of residential area that they blocked off from cars. So imagine like if you've been to a Pirates game and you're walking across the Clemente Bridge, but imagine that for like a mile. And it was just a sea of NFL fans and just vendors everywhere. You want my scarf? You want? So there were people selling beer. Just as you were walking down the street, it was truly an awesome experience. And unfortunately, no towels, but plenty of other things that were out there.
Wayne, are you going to be okay? They're available on eBay for $25. Are you going to be okay? We can get you one.
I got other things I can find comfort in.
Okay. Well, Wayne, taking it in based on Chris's experiences that he was able to share. I mean, what a cool thing for the NFL to keep doing, to have these games, and especially with the fan bases like Minnesota has, and of course Pittsburgh. It seemed like it was a major hit. Plus the Steelers won, and they looked pretty good too. Yeah,
but we had to imagine that my Irish brethren were going to show up. You know how we were.
Here we go.
And nowadays, the way the fandemonium is with sports, people are looking for travel destinations to go. I get so many calls of people looking at the schedule for just simple as their team playing in Vegas. They call you at that time because everybody wants to get on a plane. It's not that thing. Everybody wants to find somewhere to go. So the Steelers in Ireland sounds perfect for a Steelers fan. And Chris got me excited just explaining the environment. I can just imagine being there and almost kind of like going to the Masters where they take your phone and you have to be engaged. There is no option. There's just me, you, and the people out here. So that's kind of what he sounds like he's describing. We don't have to worry about traffic or kids or did we feed the dog or any of that kind of stuff because we're just here and here for a great game against a competitive team in the Vikings, and the Steelers ended on the right side.
Speaking of engaged, Ben, I don't want to get too much into your personal life, but I mean, I feel like, Ben, hearing what Chris had to say, in my head, I was like, Ben Bobick is going to make a trip to Ireland here in the near future.
He might be right. Yeah, you had me at, just like you go here and it's just all Pittsburgh people. I'm like, that's what I love about Yinzer's, man. It's like when everyone goes to the Yinzer vacation destination in Myrtle Beach, everybody goes to the Steelers bar. And it's like, I thought we were on vacation to get away from some people at home, and we're going right to the Steelers bar. Got to check in and sign the book at the Steelers bar in Myrtle Beach. But I think it's great. I think that's awesome. And I think that's what it's all about, man. That's what we call it Steelers Nation for a reason. And it was awesome to see. And I loved all the videos from the game, even before the game, during it, afterwards. It just so much fun. And that's what it's all about, man. And you hear about, the NFL a lot of, I don't want to say bad rap about these international games, but a lot of people may roll their eyes at it, if you will. But this was a special one, especially for Steelers Nation. And so it was just great to see. I'm just worried that we probably have to pool our money somehow and bid on a green terrible towel for Wayne for Christmas. We got a couple months to save up for it. And so now I'm a bit anxious about it.
Well, knowing that Irish blood that's deep within Wayne's bones, he'll probably find one on the streets of Atlanta at some point. Hey, let's talk some football. This was fun. Let's get into it a little bit. Chris, your Locked On Steelers daily podcast, it has been up and running very efficiently despite your travels, which, I mean, pat on the back to you for getting it done across the pond. Your episode, your most recent episode, talking about how the Steelers can't trade Alex Highsmith. We've got people. I hear there's rumors of Alex Smith being signed. Hey, Chris,
the quarterback, he's coming back.
Chris, we're gonna go for a trade. We need a wide receiver. I mean, hey, look, I think I remember bumping into Alex Smith at some point in Pittsburgh. I was like, that looks like Alex Smith when I back in my growing up in Pittsburgh days, but. Look, what kind of any updates on the injury for Mazda? I mean, people want to know, is a trade going to happen here?
I think that if there's a trade, it's a low level trade. It's not like AJ Brown or someone like get that out of your minds. Jacoby Myers is a unique case because you could probably get him for a lower draft pick if the Raiders are selling him, but I'm not sure that they will, even if they get worse, because they kind of just need anybody at this point. But I think the thing here is that people are thinking Nick Herbig's doing great, so just trade Alex Highsmith. It's fine now. Do people not realize the whole point of having all three of them is that you have a long season and you need to have a rotation of very good players at what might be the most important position to like what makes your team as good as it is. And people forget last year, they only got 4 games with these guys healthy, weeks 1, 2, and 3, and week 14. And in 2 of those games, one of them got hurt by the end of those. So they really only had 2 games last year where they were all 3 were healthy from start to finish, and we still haven't seen that game happen this year. You need a Herbig, a Highsmith, and a Watt so that the key pass rushing position on your team, which pass rushing is what this team is going to try to win with more often than not. It basically won them the game on that last drive, to close out the Vikings. But I look at that and I see like, man, like you want to keep that trio ready for if they're ever all healthy at the same time. That's just a series of weapons that you can have on your side. But B, when they're not healthy, you have 2 ready options that aren't just backups. These are guys that you're trusting to win and win consistently. Nick Herbig was whipping Christian Darrisaw, a very good offensive tackle in the NFL, consistently on Sunday. You put Alex Highsmith back in there, and that's something he can do. Now you have 3 guys to rotate around. It's going to make this defense so much more dangerous. And that's more important than trading Alex Highsmith for Jacoby Myers, who, like, let's face it, the second wide receiver in this offense isn't going to get used that much. Like even with Calvin Austin's numbers, Calvin Austin, I think he'll be back sooner than people think. But even Calvin Austin's numbers, they're not off the charts. They're not going crazy. The leading targets right now on the team are DK Metcalf and Jalen Warren and like Kenneth Gainwell. Like, this is still a team that is going to win through its reasonable passing game. They want to win on the ground game, which they started to find some traction on in this last week. And that's going to be the key. And I think trading away a key asset to what might be your strongest part of your team in the pass rush to get a decent second wide receiver you may only use some of the time, I think that's a huge mistake.
Plus, you've got Skoranek. I mean, put him at wide receiver too. Chris is like,
Benny Sko. Benny Sko.
I like Benny Skoranek. He's cool. I think Scotty Miller's fine. I also think they could actually use Roman Wilson there, but I don't think that this is an emergency time to go get someone big.
Wayne, you don't see the Steelers trading Alex Highsmith, do you?
No way. I don't see what rhyme or reason you would have. This team, we talk so much about. This team is supposed to be led by the defense. We've talked for 6 weeks about this defense has to do and be depth. We talked about the depth coming out of preseason, that was going to be one of the keys, that we all felt like there was a viable second guy in the injury situation. Well, it's already reared its head across the board. I don't know, there's a spot that we haven't, cornerback, linebacker, inside at the tackle, safety, Deshaun Elliott we've had to plug the defense already, and we're 3-1. So I don't understand this obsession with offense. And I'm an offensive guy, but I knew in Pittsburgh, that's not what we were here to do. We were here to get about 17 points. The special team was going to kick 2 field goals, and we were going to win 23-14. That was the plan. It was going to be ugly, but it was going to be Steeler football. Now it's this call for the Steelers to score 40 points. And that's just not reasonable to give away an Alex Highsmith at this time in the year, where so we give Alex out, Herbert gets hurt, then what? Where do we go then?
Skoranek. You put Skoranek in.
Exactly. So, every position needs 3 deep. It seems like it doesn't. And with the Steelers and the 3-4, actually you need 2 ends. You need, 2 defensive guys at each position. So it would be crazy for them to do that.
Ben, would it be that crazy?
Yeah, there's just no need. It really is. They're like these guys are saying that. I'd like to know who stirs this stuff up, man. It's like
Chris.
a telephone game. Yeah. Huh?
Chris stirred it up on his show.
No, I brought it up. I brought it up because it kept getting stirred up, and people kept coming to me asking, "Chris, are they going to do it?" Like you think that comment's the first comment I've gotten on our show about, "Oh my God, I got to trade Alex Highsmith." I've been getting this stuff since before training camp. I'm like, "You guys are crazy. Stop it!" And now it's just reared its ugly head again. I'm just like, "No." In fact, I don't know if you guys see me do this on Twitter all the time, but whenever someone shoots me a story, the Steelers could be trading for X, name a wide receiver, Randy Moss Jr. I don't know. I do the Mr. Krabs. I do the Mr. Krabs meme where he just says, "And the next day, and the next day, and the next day," because every day there's a new wide receiver somebody thinks the Steelers are definitely trading for, and I just remember sitting here. During training camp, I said they're not trading for Brandon Ayuk. It's not happening. And I got told for a month, "You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. They're definitely trading for Brandon Ayuk. They're definitely going to get this guy. Stop being a hater, Chris." And then when it didn't happen, they were like, "Oh, maybe he was onto something there." I'm telling you guys, like there's times when they might make a move, but like and they might. I do think they are looking at wide receivers right now, but not at the expense of getting rid of Alex Highsmith. It's just not.
Yeah, not a chance. I love that. You just got Bobby from Dormont in his basement. Like, how am I going to get Chris Carter going today? And just going to rock him up again. But and I think just for the sole fact that you just look at the basic fact of we've been talking so much on this show about how many new pieces we have on this team and how they just take some time to gel together. Like Chris mentioned, Highsmith and Herbig and Watt, obviously they've been on the team a few years, but you got to get those guys out there together and playing some football and start to gel, not trade one of them away.
Hey, Chris, can you feel it, Mr. Krabs? Hey, Chris, just so you know, I'll be sending you an invoice for this therapy session after today's show. I know you can't let it out on your daily podcast, but here we will be charging for these therapy sessions. Hey, coming up next year on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show, we will talk about how the Steelers, it's early, like Wayne said to start the show, but they are the kings of the North. A little bit of the AFC North outlook and how the Steelers can kind of wiggle their way to stay atop that division. That is next right here on the Steelers Squad Show. But first, the NFL season has been here. It is here, and it has been a great start to the season. And FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I really love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football so much more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, back here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Ben Bobick, Wayne Gandy, Christopher Carter. Steelers are 3-1. Shockingly, the Ravens are 1-3. They're with the Browns. The Bengals are 2-2. You've got the bye week this week, and then you've got the Browns, and then you've got a short week with the Bengals on Thursday night. Chris, I'll start with you. Your overall outlook of the AFC North for the Steelers as it stands today.
They're right where I think that they should be as far as this. I thought that they'd be 2-2 at this point because I thought that they would drop the game to the Patriots. Just Foxborough is just always a hard place to play. But with them being 3-1, I do think they have an opportunity to take advantage of things. I told everyone the Bengals are not that. And not that I was rooting for Joe Burrow to get hurt. But I just thought it was a pretty good chance he would because they didn't improve their offensive line. Last year, that dude was dodge, duck, dip, diving, and dodging to save his life. And I'm just like, it's only a matter of time before just the wrong thing happens and he gets hurt for a third time that knocks him out for a season. And that's what happened. And I was like, I feel sad because I love watching Joe Burrow, but I was like, he's going to get killed. And he got killed again. And I knew that was something that was going to happen. And I also think that even with him, their defense is trash. Their offense outside of him and the two receivers is trash. Their offensive line is trash. That team was always going to finish third at best in the AFC North. This has always been a 2-team race, and it's still a 2-team race. The only thing now is that the Steelers could be in a position to build up a real lead on the Ravens right now, because the Steelers, they have a bye this week, and their next 2 games are Browns at home, Bengals on the road for Thursday Night Football. Now, Browns on the road, off the bye, you got to win that game. It's going to be Dylan Gabriel's second game, most likely. The backup to him is pantomiming to the press. That's all. They got a whole mess to go there. The Bengals could be tricky simply because the Steelers in the history of Thursday Night Football have never won on the road on Thursday Night Football against a divisional opponent, but they've also never played the Bengals in that slot there. So that could be a factor as well. But they got to win those 2 games. If they win those 2 games, it puts immense pressure on the Baltimore Ravens to handle their business against the Texans, who have not played well with C.J. Stroud, and the Rams, who have played very well. Because if the Ravens go through that stretch and lose both of those games, and the Steelers win those 2 games against 2 not good teams right now, the Steelers will be 5-1. The Ravens will be 1-5. And yes, the Ravens' schedule after that does get considerably easier, but that's still a 4-game lead is a lot to climb out of, and I think the Steelers team is going to get better. I've been saying 11 wins is the mark for the Steelers. You'd be at a point where the Ravens at that point in the season with 5 losses, if that's what they get to, they only would have 1 more loss really that they could afford to lose the rest of the season. Otherwise, the Steelers would at best tie them, and then it would come down to head-to-head and then division records, and I just think the Ravens don't want to be in that situation.
That sounds great. However, as of late, we have seen the Steelers take some major strides early in the season, and then you get to the second half and the wheels fall off. Wayne, how do the Steelers avoid that second half slump and keep motoring through, given the fact that they could really, like Chris said, put themselves in pole position to win this AFC North?
Well, it becomes personnel. You got to have leadership within the locker room. I think they have enough of it. And let's look in the mirror. We're not that talented to overlook anyone. We have a good team that can play, with anyone, but all the parts have to show up and everybody has to be engaged. Sometimes you fall into, that lull when you look around and you think, oh, we have an advantage. But yes, we should be, as Chris said, we should be able to go out and win these next 2 games. When you look at it on paper, that should be, but it's not like it's an overwhelming where we're going to sit here and pick the score to be 40-7. That's just not how we feel like the Steelers is built. So we're going to still have to go out and win these games. Baltimore, the thing with them is like a lot of teams, as much as you want to believe that they're going to have this big turnaround, sometimes the injury bug hits you in big ways. This team had high expectations. So they're dealing with that as well, that, key personnel is out. We have a bad record. Can we come from behind? A lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson to deliver by himself in a lot of ways. Derrick Henry fumbling the ball, didn't have a big game last week because they got behind. I think things are setting up well if the Steelers keep feeling and playing Steeler football, chip on the shoulder. We got to give our all. We don't have enough to take anybody for granted. And I think we caught a break even with Dylan Gabriel. That it's not him showing up to play us on his first real start. We got a week to get some tape. We got some week to order some wings, watch him play just to see. We know what Joe Flacco brings to the field, but we might need to see how they use Dylan Gabriel. That helps out. That's a big break for us to have a week to be able to see that. So little things, patience, and everything is starting to spin in the right way. But we still have to continue every week to take care of business because you're going to lose some games you should win sometimes. But I think it's key that these 2 are divisional games. And to me, that's the best way to come out of a bye against teams in the division, because there's that little it to it already that you want to win, and you got to be focused and you can't take them for granted. Sometimes you come out and you're playing a team you rarely play. You look on your schedule, you haven't played them in 6-7 years. But the Browns, the Bengals, you know they're going to come to play regardless of the personnel because they just don't like the Steelers.
The Browns may have given the Steelers a break when they went through the NFL draft. I'll just say that. Ben, is it too early? Is it too early to get this excited about what could be with the Steelers in this division? Because I still worry. I know it's the Browns. I know it's coming off a bye. I know it's the Bengals with an injured Joe Burrow. But I still worry about these divisional games given the current state of this Steelers team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's entirely too early. I mean, it's October 1st, man. It's how it is. And we've seen it, the too early bug catch us the last 2 seasons in 2 different ways. You think about last season where we started to play really well, and then we saw what happened at the end of the season there, and we weren't playing our best ball. We go on a losing streak, and then boom, we're bounced in a one and done in the playoffs. And then you think about the year before, the pristine preseason that we turned in. We're thinking like, man, this is great. This team is the best ever. They're going to score at will. And then we saw what happened throughout that season. So absolutely. And we've been chatting a lot about it on this show about wanting this Steelers team to find their way and continuously get better throughout the season. That's always the goal, to be playing your best football in November, December, and obviously into January. And that's no matter what else has happened in the division. Obviously, it's definitely significant to see how the rest of it is playing out with the Browns and their situation, the Bengals, and of course, the Ravens, just the injury bug catching them. It's I think the big thing to watch for them is to see Lamar Jackson's status. I know they're probably going to remain moot on it throughout the week, but you do look at their schedule here coming up, and they've had a rough going the first 3 weeks, man. I mean, you had to play the Chiefs, the Bills, the Lions, and then they have the Texans upcoming this week, although at home. But, even if Lamar Jackson plays in that game, how healthy is he going to be? And the Texans are trying to turn things around. C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback. Then they have to go and play the Rams the following week. Los Angeles is off to a fantastic start to the season. It's just been even if they were healthy, it would be tough going just based off their schedule. But, I mean, absolutely too early into it. It's one of those things where you want to have some tunnel vision and just, hey, focus on what we got going here, and that's okay. Get better. Let's get healthy here with our secondary and a lot of other guys here in this bye week, and let's continuously get better because we've seen it too many times. Not even just getting ahead of ourselves, but just this team not being at their best when they need to be towards the end of the season. And so if they just continue on the trend that they are, it should hopefully take care of itself. And if the outside circumstances continue to line up, even better.
Speaking of trends, Ben, just to build off of that, Tyler. What's the big thing that the best teams often do late in the season to get them through the tough games? Running the football, which is what Wayne has been talking about this team needs to show. And I thought this past week was the best example we've seen of them running the football efficiently in a game and against a defensive front that is talented, that's aggressive, that goes after the run. It doesn't mean that they've figured it out. It doesn't mean that all is going to be great moving forward. But I think that if this offensive line and the run game continues to trend upwards the way it is, you could get to a point where later in the season you see something the Steelers have not had since maybe 2017.
Wow.
Chris, I'm glad you brought that up because coming up next on this Wednesday night edition of the Steelers Squad Show, we will be heading to Wayne's World, and I'm sure he'll be talking about that running game. He was pretty excited Sunday, and I'm sure that excitement carries into this bye week. That is next right here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS top safety pick plus awards than anyone else. That's as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same attention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you could drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Steelers Squad Show, Locked On Podcast Network. Christopher Carter, Wayne Gandy, Ben Bobick. It is time now for Wayne's World when we go inside the world that is Wayne Gandy's. And Wayne, you were pretty high on the running game. You were asking for the running game to finally do something, 100-plus yards, and it happens with a guy that wasn't expected to be there, at least initially. Jaylen Warren, a late scratch, and in comes Kenneth Gainwell, and Gains very well in Ireland. Wayne, your overall thoughts, having sat on it for a few days, on where this running game can now go, seeing what Gainwell was able to do?
Well, it was the first time I actually saw the line look like they were having some fun. And I've talked about, I'm not looking for one guy to run for over 100 yards, which Gainwell got 98, 99 yards rushing on Sunday. But I feel like as an offense, you got to be able to go over 100 yards rushing as a running game. And I'm not talking about quarterback yards either. I'm talking about with your run game, you have to be able to be an efficient offense to keep the balance that you need to be able to play. And the thing that excited me was it was the first time it seemed like those guys, they were beating the defensive line off the ball. They were enjoying the falling on them, the O-line part, where you get to drop 320 pounds on a linebacker and laugh. And you knew we were going to run the ball in 3rd and 2 and you couldn't stop it. It's the little things like that I'm looking and I was enjoying. We're finally, because that is Thanksgiving and after football. That is, it's cold. Guys now are hoping to get you in 3rd and long because they're beat up. And finally, and we got a big task, within the division, you got to be able to run the ball. Broderick Jones, Myles Garrett coming up. Fatanu, the same thing, but to see the inside guys, see Amalu pulling, Frazier, McCormick, those guys seemed like they were having fun. And that's what I really loved about it. And it was working together. Sometimes it was them, and then sometimes it was individual effort from just Gainwell and the way he was hitting the hole. I love his aggressiveness of hitting the hole. So I'm hoping that excites Jaylen Warren on the sideline. It all feeds off each other. It's all interconnected. And you try to ride that wave. So it was the first time out of the first 4 games that I felt like the Steelers' offensive line was showing some aggression.
Chris, what's the latest on Jaylen Warren, and then what does Mike Tomlin do with this running backs room moving forward?
It seems like the Jaylen Warren sitting was a precautionary thing. He practiced limited, and then on Saturday they looked at him and they said, you need to rest. We don't want to lose you we don't want to put you at risk. And they trusted Kenneth Gainwell to go in. And listen, that's why you have veteran backups. That's why you keep a guy ready, and Kenneth Gainwell was ready. And so I think that if Jaylen Warren was a last minute pullout, don't use him on the day before the game, and they have a bye week, he'll be ready, for Sunday against the Browns in a couple weeks here. But Wayne, I know this was a little bit after your time, but who Kenneth Gainwell remind me of from Steelers past? Moelle Moore. Remember when Moelle Moore was coming in for the Steelers for Willie Parker in the late 2000s, especially in the 2008 season? There was a game against the Bengals where they needed to win that game, and Willie Parker's out, and everyone's like, man, how's the run game going to function? And here comes Moelle Moore off the bench with 100-plus yards. I think he got a touchdown or 2. That was kind of what Kenneth Gainwell did in this game, on top of him just regularly being a good receiving back out of the backfield. I think when you have a guy like that with a tough runner like Jaylen Warren, who, by the way, is Willie Parker's cousin, I think it can produce good things so long as the offensive line continues to improve. And I thought they took steps forward. So if they get that going, and that's a whole thing, Wayne's right. They can feed off each other. And then when the run game's going and you have a cerebral quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, that's where things get tricky, because then he can see, they're overplaying this a little bit. Let's hit this over here. Let's hit this over there. And I think you started to see that in this game a little bit. Once the Vikings started to bite to stop the run, it opened up a few things in the pass game. So it can get really tricky for the Steelers for teams trying to defend the Steelers if this run game does emerge.
Ben, what's the ceiling for this running attack for the Steelers? A slow ramp, injury, Kenneth Gainwell, maybe that's the game that room needed to start doing what the offense needs it to do to get Aaron Rodgers going to the passing game.
My week just got immensely better that Welday Moore's name was dropped on this podcast today, man. I love that. I absolutely love Tulane. I love that. But there's the thing, man. I think it's about finding that how they complement each other. And I think that's what a lot of people were confused at. Week one, they rolled him out, and it's like, why is Kenneth Gainwell in there so much? And then they're trying to get Jalen Warren more touches the following couple of weeks. I think it's just finding that right complement, because I think they both have earned their spot on the field. Surely, I mean, the way Kenneth Gainwell played, like we talked about on Sunday, like that's the Kenneth Gainwell I was hoping we were getting from Philadelphia, man. That's the guy that made the most of his opportunities behind Saquon Barkley last year, and so I just think it's finding how they complement each other. I think they do a good job of getting Jalen Warren the ball, sort of, getting the ball moving, get him the ball when he's running downhill in the pass game. You do the same thing with Kenneth Gainwell, just finding those ways to pull those strings the right way. And I think just getting him some rhythm this past week was great. And I think Jalen, like Chris said, I expected Jalen Warren to be just fine. And also what Wayne said too, just feeding off each other, man. You get a two-headed monster going, look out. And so I think it's just finding that right fine tune of how to complement each other and when to pull those strings, because they both could be very beneficial to this football team.
And keep pulling Caleb Johnson along. He's still in that. You can see him. He has that kind of, I don't know if I'm really ready for the NFL, and we've all been there, just as green as a rookie, and really your confidence and you just need some good things and good reps out there. And I saw about that third, fourth time he touched the ball, he started just playing football. And so we got to keep giving him the ball. I think it's an explosiveness to him that is there, but right now it's just a search for confidence.
Real quickly, Sebastian Freeman out here with the comment of the night. Ben Bobick looks like Johnny Bravo.
What a 5 minutes for me. Welday Moore and a Johnny Bravo comparison. My goodness.
Come on. That's just too good.
This was always my favorite day of the week since we started doing this podcast. Now it's just, this is going to be tough to top. I've reached the peak.
I've spent like the last 2 minutes trying to download an image and upload it, but it's not working. We'll have to save that for a rainy day. But hey, bravo to the Steelers getting the win in Ireland. They're 3-1. Chris, I did want to bring this up because it popped up on Next Gen Stats. Steelers linebacker Peyton Wilson reached a top speed of 22.48 miles per hour on his chase down tackle of Jordan Addison, the fastest speed by a linebacker in the NGS era, so since 2016. Wilson's tackle ran 61 seconds of clock that helped the Steelers seal a win in Dublin. I mean, he had a great game, and we haven't talked about the defense that much, but led the team in tackles. That was the biggest tackle. What do you make of that top speed from Peyton Wilson and what he could continue to bring to the defense?
It's what I saw him in NC State. When you watched him in college, he just flew all over the field. I covered him in the ACC and just seeing him there. And man, like when I saw him on tape, I'm like, this guy makes a lot of sense. He just has to put it together and learn how to kind of work within short spaces. And I think you're starting to see him do that. And I thought as impressive as that one play was, this game was highly impressive for him for so many other reasons as well. I saw this man engage with offensive linemen at the point of attack, use his arms to get in their chest, extend, and then rip and shed, get past them, and then make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. There was one time, and again, I'm in the stands. I didn't go to the press box. I was sitting in the stands. I just remember sitting in the stands in the middle of a sea of Steelers fans. And there was a play where Wilson did that, and both him and Patrick Queen meet in the backfield, bring down the running back, and you see Patrick Queen just being like, this guy's getting it, and he starts like banging his chest, and I'm like, oh, Pat's feeling it right now because he knows it's not just him playing well, it's Peyton playing well, and the defense is starting to click. And if Peyton Wilson does start to click with his athleticism, he is going to be such a problem. And people forget, it takes time to mesh elite athleticism with technical play in a complicated defense. And this is a complicated defense. I've been talking with players for the past since the start of training camp, this is not the same defense as it was last year. There are new pieces. There are new moves. There are more aggressive blitzes. They're asking guys to do more. They're disguising a lot more. And they did things last year, but they've changed it up because of the personnel that they have. And there's now an onus on Peyton Wilson. And we did talk to Terrell Austin earlier today, in fact, at the Steelers facility. And one thing he said was, hey, we wanted to let Peyton focus a little bit more. So that's why you're seeing Cole Holcomb go out there on first down a little bit, just so Peyton Wilson can get in certain matchups and they can say, hey, focus on this matchup and this matchup. And when he gets those and when he gets more consistent with the hyper focus, then they'll say, okay, now you're ready to expand your role and get better there. And I think that's good coaching, is saying, hey, we have some vets. Let the vet hold it down for a spot or two, but then put Peyton Wilson in the situations that he's going to excel in. And they did that. And if this leads to him playing a lot better, man, watch out, because him and Patrick Queen next to each other, playing at a high level behind a defensive line that also played at a much higher level, it can make this run defense a lot better than it has been.
Wayne, how critical are plays like that chase down that Wilson was able to accomplish in Dublin? How important are plays like that to galvanizing an entire team?
No, that's the energy I was talking about. You plug into the effort. When I talked Sunday, and I was talking about the strain of the muscle. That's why it started looking like true Steeler football. It was, I'm not going to stay blocked. Even if I get blocked, I'm going to get up. I'm going to chase the ball. I'm going to get off the blocks. Keanu Benton working inside, slapping hands, pushing the pocket, going to the second and third move. And when guys make those kind of plays right there, all out effort in a time where, as I told you and Ben, usually a cornerback, a receiver breaks. After you give chase for about 20 yards, and then you start conceding, I'm not going to get there. But that's not. He had total blinders on of getting there, and that was setting the tempo of how we're going to play today. And that's kind of how I was talking about with Gainwell attacking the line of scrimmage. It's not like it was 20, 30-yard runs, but it was a hard 3 or 4. I'm going to get that extra inch. I'm going to fall forward. Those kind of runs is that real energy that you need. And I felt like that was just a play that sometimes that's what the coach goes in, he cuts, he puts up, and he explains why this play was so much impact in the game. He wants to let you know, without it, 60 more seconds are on the clock, and we're in a different situation. So every play counts. Never give up on a play.
Ben, it certainly feels like that particular play is one of those plays where Mike Tomlin, let's say week 13, week 14, shows that to the team and says, remember this play. It has that feel to it. And I feel like a team like the Steelers team that isn't uberly talented, we know what they are and what they're becoming, that they need those moments to really find that energy to bring it night in and night out.
Yeah, that's a play that every football team in the country needs to see, high school to college. Say, look at this. This is why you never give up on a play, and this is why you keep going till the whistle. But absolutely, I mean, that's the type of play that people could really feed off of. Like, listen, you hear these guys talk about, listen, I want to fight for the person next to me in this team. We're a brotherhood. That's what that play was. That was, listen, hey, we screwed up here. It was a blown coverage. He gets over the top and he's seemingly walking in for a touchdown. It's like, no, we're not going to let that happen. And that's just something that's just an attitude you have to have of, we're not letting anybody have anything easy. And that's exactly what ended up happening there. It was not even just the tackle, but like we've been talking about, another minute off the clock. And like, they eventually scored, but it wasn't easy for them. And that ultimately kind of came up big there late for us for the Steelers to close it out. But absolutely, man. Those are the type of plays that people see, and they're like, hey, if Peyton Wilson's doing this, man, what could I do? What could I do to make a play for this football team? What could I do over the top with that regard to help this team out? But man, that was just a really cool play, and that's why sports are the best, because it relates to life in the sense of, hey, you never give up, man. This guy's walking in for a touchdown, and next thing you know, they're running 3 or 4 other plays and shedding a minute off the clock when they're against it.
Dang.
That's incredible.
Man, I uploaded it wrong because it's taking up the whole screen now. I thought I did this right, but hey, Johnny Drama, thanks, or Johnny Bravo.
That's incredible. See, like I know it's for the hair.
Here we go.
I know it's for the hair, but I like to think it's for the arm.
Yeah, that's
what
I knew it was.
when I go to bed tonight.
Hey, we all know it was for the arms, Ben.
Yeah,
we can see those. We can see the gun show on this show. That's why people are tuned in. That's why they're locked into Locked On, man. Hey, we've got one more segment. Speaking of Johnny Bravo, we are going to have a round of applause for the Steelers, and we are also going to check in with Chris Carter, see how the team is, a little banged up, but what to expect. And we've got a lot of comments on who the Steelers should trade for. And will Joey Porter Jr. Replace Jalen Ramsey in the defense? We'll have all those answers coming up right after this here on the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. But first, most people can't name all their financial accounts. Can you? Or even what they're worth? Can you? Well, whether it's 401ks, property, or investments, and when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch. It's been really great. Immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Locked On Steelers Daily Podcast being. No, I'm just kidding. I subscribe. Okay, I'm just kidding, Chris. Okay, canceling those alone, saving money every.
We're free.
Month. Hey, they make me pay. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Chris, I look. The show's so good that they're starting to charge. They're starting to charge for that.
Where are you paying for Locked On Steelers? Hey, I need some of that money.
Chris, that's a personal question. We can talk about it. I'll put it on your invoice for therapy that we talked about earlier. Hey, the Steelers have the week off, and thank goodness. It's a little bit early in the season for a bye week, but they're banged up. A lot of questions still to answer. And Chris, people are wondering, where does the defense go when Joey Porter Jr. comes back? Is it just sliding guys in and out? Where do you see this defense going, and how do you see the defense looking when they take on the Browns in 2 Sundays?
I don't think Joey Porter replaces Jalen Ramsey, particularly because I think Joey Porter is an outside cornerback for this team right now. They want him to lock in on the outside, take away top wide receivers, number 2 wide receivers, whoever he's lined up with, just play that role. I think the ideal situation is you're going to see the guy that's going to move around the secondary is the guy who started to do a lot in this last game against the Vikings, and that was Deshaun Elliott. I think you're going to see him fly around a lot more and flip between spots in the secondary, not to the level that Jalen Ramsey did, because Jalen Ramsey would also play outside cornerback. But I do think you'll see it to the level of he'll play in the slot, he'll play in the box, he'll play deep safety, he'll jump here and there, because he chose to be a highly effective communicator, a big hitter, a guy who could play the ball and cover responsibly and defend the run. So Deshaun Elliott, a bigger presence on this team than I think a lot of people gave him credit for when they signed him last year and then re-signed him going into this year. And so I think he'll be that piece. But Joey Porter Jr. being back will be a big help. This team has really dealt with adversity well early. This team was built on the cornerback play, and losing Joey Porter Jr. Was a big blow. I don't think people realize how important he was to what they were trying to draw up schematically for this defense, and they found a way to survive that with Brandon Echols in the fold. And then in this game, they lost Jalen Ramsey, and I think he wasn't really good for most of the second half. I think he tried to play through his hamstring injury, and you could just see him trying to stop, turn, and cut just wasn't working late in the game, and I think that led to some of the plays that the Steelers allowed. Then eventually he came out, and then you had guys like James Pierre in there. But I'll give James Pierre credit. He was targeted twice. Both times he got his hands on the football. So, I think that the Steelers have shown the adversity or the ability to rise up to adversity and play through it. But you just like to see this defense finally healthy. They haven't been healthy, whether it's Derek Harmon or Alex Highsmith or Nick Herbig or Joey Porter Jr. or Jalen Ramsey or Deshaun Elliott. They've been missing key players every single game, and yet they're still putting in winning performances at 3-1. I think the big thing is after the bye, see who you can get back healthy. If you're back mostly healthy and Ramsey is the one that's like, hey, let's give him another week or two to get over this hamstring, that's a blessing. But this season is long, and 13 weeks is a long time to go without a bye. I think the Steelers, they're going to need their depth to continue to come up for them this year, because injuries across, it's not just the Steelers. Look at what the Niners are going through. Look at what so many other teams are going. Look at what the Ravens are going through right now. Injuries are real, and you have to have the depth to address them. I think fortunately for the Steelers, there's a few positions where they can address them.
Wayne, hearing all of that from Chris, which guy defensively, either coming back in the secondary, how do you see things shaking out? 13 weeks, as Chris said, that's as much as I love this bye coming when it has, there's a lot of season left. So how does the defense, even the offense for that matter, figure out a way to stay healthy the rest of the season?
I don't know. You'd have to go to the football gods and ask about the health thing. It is just the luck of the draw sometimes. Injuries are just part of the game, and that's what your depth is all about. It was something about Deshaun Elliott being back on Sunday that brought a certain calmness. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like everybody knew that position was being held down, and he was managing it in the way that the other guys seemed to calm the defense down for me. My biggest thing with this bye is that the team isn't looking at other teams and what's going on there and start chalking and writing up and, oh, we got this game because this person is out. And we got this game because people, we're still human. We're still, looking at certain things. We hear the outside noise or, Lamar's a little banged up, and then start thinking and getting carried away. And that's why I said earlier, the team is not that good enough to be taking anyone for granted. So in this time, can we build on this rush game? Because I think the running game, as I think all four of us agree, is what opens up all the things that everybody online wants to see. You want to see the tight ends being used. You want to see the second, third receiver. You want to see the middle of the field. Well, all that will come if they can continue to run the ball successfully.
Ben, next week, or at least this Sunday, Browns have the Vikings, Ravens have the Texans, and the Bengals play Detroit. So let's get healthy. You look at the schedule, you look at the outlook, and we talked about this earlier, but going back to the defensive side of the ball, who's a guy, are you fired up to see Joey Porter Jr.? I mean, Penn State guy. What do you think he will bring defensively that we haven't seen from the Steelers yet this season?
Obviously, I'm glad you teed it up for me there to get the Penn State guy back out there on defense. But I just want to see him work, how he works with Jalen Ramsey. I want to see them both on the field together. And obviously, Deshaun Elliott being back this past Sunday was awesome. He's such a great player for the Steelers, man. And you saw that instantly making plays with the interception. But yeah, I want to see Joey Porter Jr. out there. I want to see how he works, how this secondary kind of works in cohesion. I want to see him work with Jalen Ramsey, and then vice versa. I want to see, with Joey Porter being out there, how that maybe frees Jalen Ramsey up a good bit to maybe use him in unique spots and to confuse offenses and whatnot. I feel like it just opens up the Steelers defense a bit more to make those splash plays and allow these playmakers to go after it. But absolutely, I think that's what it comes down to. And that's just such a great thing to have. You have Jalen Ramsey here, a guy who's been an all-pro in this league for a while. And then Joey Porter Jr. is still relatively young, and it's great to have those two on the field together, learning, Joey Porter being able to learn off of Jalen Ramsey. He has that alpha mentality, which I think is great too, that you need in in a to be a corner in this league or a defensive back in this league. It's one of the tougher positions to play on the field. So yeah, getting him back and just continuing to work as a have that cohesiveness is big. And you mentioned the other teams in the division this week, and that's what the glory of the bye week. We get to sit back and watch it play out. And I will say, Wayne actually switched me up a little bit. I wanted the Steelers to be the first start for Dylan Gabriel. Something like, oh man, they're just going to come after him. But he had a great point. Like, hey, this guy gets to put a bunch of stuff on tape on Sunday. They're obviously going to try to set him up for success, and they get to put that entire game on tape, and we get to lick our chops hopefully a little bit and to see how they could terrorize him the following Sunday at home and on the North Shore.
Just a late reminder that you should always be listening to Christopher Carter's Locked On Steelers daily podcast Monday through Friday. He did it overseas. If you didn't see that this week, hey, Chris, a lot of stuff about TJ Watt trending in the right direction. I think he's caught a little heat to start the season. Why do you think that is, and how do you think he's responded here week after week?
Because every fan sees their favorite team spend some money, and they start going JP Morgan and say, it's my money and I need it now. And I'm just like, guys, relax. But I looked at the TJ Watt games where he wasn't getting sacks, and I was like, he's not doing anything wrong. He's not losing at the point of attack. They're running away from him. They're throwing quick passes, and they're triple teaming him. In that Seahawks game, Jack Sawyer's sack when he walked to the quarterback was because 3 guys were looking at TJ Watt. Go back and look at the intentional grounding play. Even in the last 2 games, he's been phenomenal. He's 3 sacks across him. He has an interception. He tipped another passes. Like, he is getting after it. He had 7 pressures against the Vikings. So, like, TJ Watt is showing, hey, he hasn't lost a step. He's still a really good playmaker. But what I think that you also see is that, like, he's still, even when he's not making plays and he's not being the one that's creating the noise, he's setting someone else up on the intentional grounding play on the final drive where Carson Wentz threw the ball away because he was under pressure, and that set up 2nd and really long, and eventually the Steelers get the stop on 4th down and win the game. It was set up by TJ Watt because at the start of the play, he lines up on his normal side. And I talked to Terrell Austin and Denzel Martin today, Denzel Martin, the outside linebackers coach. And the Steelers have been adamant about, like, look, we'll move him around sometimes, but when he lines up over the right tackle, he is the best in the world at that. And we don't want him to have to go away from that. So we have to figure out other things to free him up or to free other people up. And so on that intentional grounding play, you see Jalen Naylor come in and try to chip TJ Watt. You see the right tackle and the right guard, just the whole play. Their whole job is to block TJ Watt. So effectively, 3 guys dedicated to stopping him. That left Derek Harmon with the center, and then it was 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 rather with Cam Hayward and Nick Herbig versus the left guard and left tackle. And all Cam Hayward had to do was stunt one way. The tackle, Christian Darrisaw absorbed him, and then it was Nick Herbig just being, I'm faster than you in space, and getting and beat the guard to the point, which got in Carson Wentz's face. Wentz was able to get rid of the ball, but it was an intentional grounding, and that did it there. And again, it's set up by TJ Watt attracting all that attention over there, and that's just a 4-man rush. So TJ Watt's playing very, very good. I'd even say playing great right now. I said that the whole him starting not getting his sacks early was not as big of a deal, and eventually they're going to come. And I think people are starting to see that and saying, okay, we can calm down now. But TJ Watt has been that guy, still is that guy, still will be that guy. And I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the season he's in another DPOY sort of campaign, looking to prove that he's still the best defender in football.
Wayne, you agree?
Yeah, I think that his greatness is so big. People just think that it's going to be every play. Mm-hmm. You're not looking at the fullness of what he's doing and how he affects having a player. And as I always say, you got to have somebody that draws that attention. You got to have that guy that the opposing team has to circle and demand double teams. They demand the tight end to stay in. They demand the running back to have to chip his way out. That's who TJ Watt is. That's his job. And he's still able to get double-digit sacks with all that going on. So, at some point, as other guys step up, when he gets those one-on-one matchups, that's when you see him get to the quarterback. But until someone else shows up, and that's what we saw with Benton, we saw it with Herbig. Now I got to run a little more balance, and then that's when he can get his chances. So It comes and goes. It's not just about the numbers with some players. It's about how they're affecting the defense and how concerned the defense is about having to deal with them.
Ben, final thoughts, final word. Chris, you going to be on Final Word this week?
Not this week, but October 12th after the Browns game, I will be.
Okay.
Perfect. Put that in the Google Calendar.
Yeah, get that in the calendar right now. And
Yeah.
Ben, put it in the calendar now, and then you can give your final word.
Yeah. And TJ Watt's the man. I mean, come on, he is. And like you think, I love when Mike Tomlin always talks about him being all world. That was an all world play on that interception this past Sunday against the Vikings. Man, that's the stuff he does. But you got to feel good about this football team. You got to enjoy the bye week. Well, that's the glory of where us Steelers fans, a lot of us are like, hey, we get to enjoy the bye week. If you're them, get healthy and focus on the task at hand. But real opportunity coming up these next few weeks. But absolutely, we talked a little bit about the bye week coming a little early, and it's not the best, but it may have been a blessing in disguise for the Steelers to heal up a bit. But they're in a good spot, long season ahead. But you're feeling good about being 3-1, that's for sure.
3-1 and atop the AFC North. They are off Sunday. They return to action Sunday, October 12th, 1 o'clock kick against Cleveland at home. And then that very next Thursday, so a short week, they will travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals for some Thursday night football. That is on October 16th. That'll do it, though, for this edition of the Locked On Steelers Squad Show. Remember to always throw us a like, subscribe. That helps us out. You can also catch the audio of this show wherever and however you podcast. And that has been a nice little fun Wednesday. Guys, I'm tired. I need some sleep. I don't know what to tell you. But Ben, Johnny Bravo, Bobick, thanks for joining us. Wayne Gandy, Christopher Carter, this has been fun. We are taking the weekend off. We will be back next Wednesday to preview the Browns and then have that live reaction show right after that Browns game. So thanks so much. Here we go, Steelers, and we'll see you this time next week.